Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another coffee chat. Alright, put that down. Show the forearm like we always do. Forearm gains on point. Sorry, some of my stuff is cleared out. I haven't put it all back in yet. Had a jam session yesterday. So, something I was thinking about, I've been thinking about actually for a week. I'm like, let me just go ahead and address it. And this is part of my problem with the whole evidence-based side of the fitness world is that oftentimes it's used as an excuse to not get results. And I've seen lately, again, this whole resurgence of, hey, there's data showing that doing extremely high sets, 30, 40, 50 sets a week per muscle group, may be slightly better for muscle growth. All right, here's your issue with some of that. The people saying it don't have gains. In other words, when I look at even the evidence-based people and researchers who are promoting this, some of them promote things that absolutely do not work in the real world. Those of us who are coaches know this, but they'll have some studies supporting it. But the problem is they can't make it work either. They'll promote nonsense. The perfect example, someone whose stuff I follow because I do like a little bit of his work, although it's getting worse and worse. Who I've actually had a little bit of debate with on social media before. The guy, if you were looking at what he has said lately, there's evidence towards it's like, oh yeah, people will be doing 50 sets per week. Grown men would be eating 30 grams of carbohydrates and 150 grams of protein. As fairly advanced lifters and would gain muscle optimally. It would not interfere with their workouts or their muscle growth at all for those things to be that low. And therein lay a lot of the problem. This guy's not even big. The guy who's saying this tends to get lean with Photoshop. But I could fit him in my forearm. I mean, he's like the size of my forearm. He's like the size of maybe my thigh. And it's just ludicrous. It's just absolutely ludicrous. These people will get followings, and then people are like, well, look, he's got these stuff. But I'm like, if it studies, it doesn't work. You could take the stuff that this person is saying from these studies and go try to do it in your clients, and it's not going to work. Because that's what people have to remember with sports science. Sports nutrition, exercise science, all of those things. If you cannot apply them in a real human being and it doesn't work, or you can't take 20 athletes and make it work in all of them, you've got a problem. It doesn't matter what your research says at that point. But that's been pointed out too. The research is often really, really bad. If you guys have seen in my blogs, Jamie kind of feels that way. It's like, oh, you took 19 test subjects. You took 19 untrained lifters, and that's where you draw a conclusion from. Now, people say, well, the research and the funding, yeah, but that's the point. If that's the best you can do, then don't bother. I mean, that's fine if you need to do it for, you have to get your PhD. Okay, great. I mean, they have to do the research for that. We get it. But you shouldn't be putting that out there, and people shouldn't be using it as evidence. Okay? And what I consider untrained is not what researchers consider untrained. I'm going to be honest, guy. Okay, if you bench 150 pounds for 5 reps, you're untrained. Let's just call it. Because they'll talk about well-trained subjects, and they squat 100 kilos. They better be a woman. Because that is like, you've been working out a month. I mean, if you're on one of my programs, that's where you're going to be at. So, again, it's ludicrous, the studies that they use to draw these conclusions. Because let's be realistic. Every one of you who've been coaches, every single one of you have dealt with lifters who are trying to do 30 sets per muscle group. without drugs. Okay, without drugs. What happens? Do they make any progress? In my experience as a coach, when they start doing that, that's it. They're done. They stop growing. Doesn't matter if they're 140 pounds. Doesn't matter if they're 190 pounds. The moment drug-free lifters start doing, I'm going to do 30 sets for my chest, they stop growing. That's it. Their gains are done. They're done. That's it. And if they do that for the next year, they don't make any progress. That's just what happens. I dealt with that recently with a client who came on board. He was a novice, and I mean, he was stuck at something like 135 for 5 reps on his bench, and he'd been there for months. And I'm looking at his programming, and I'm like, well, what were you doing? And it's like, oh, bench press, incline, and dips, all in the same workout, done twice a week. And we're talking like 4, say it was something like 4 sets of each. So 24 sets a week. He stopped growing completely. He was trying to gain. He gained a little bit of weight in that time. He's like, I don't feel it's not getting any stronger though. My lifts have stayed the same. For 3 or 4 months, I haven't been able to put a single pound on the bar. I took the same lifter down for his chest and tricep work. All we did was 5 sets of bench and band press downs afterwards. Twice a week, that's it. What do you think happened? He spent the next 12 weeks PRing every single week. Went from stalling, 0 progress for months, 0, to weekly PRs again. And he's done something like whatever his at this point, he's up like 30 pounds on his 5 rep sets. Of course, then we added some other smaller work in, more back work, a little bit of shoulder work, we've added a little stuff over time. So you see the people, these influencers promoting this ultra high volume training, and none of them look like lifters. They don't look like they lift. They maybe look a little toned or in shape. They don't look like they lift. And I don't think that's a coincidence, because they're promoting stuff from studies. Again, we can question the validity of these studies a lot. It doesn't work. And everyone who's coached people knows it doesn't work, unless people are willing to blast a bunch of gear. Okay? It doesn't work. But on that same token, we know guys who say, hey, this doesn't work, who use a bunch of gear and they're still jacked when they do the other stuff. But there's a point, though, to where a lot of these evidence-based people, they need to be checked. Because, I'm sorry, the modern research just isn't that good. It still isn't that great. And if that's the totality of your knowledge, it doesn't matter that you've spent a decade conducting their research. If you're still not big and your clients are still not big, and you're putting out information based upon your data that we all know in the real world doesn't work, everyone who coaches people, maybe you need to shut up and people need to stop listening to you till you make some gains. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.